Podcast, where stories of ambition, courage, and real business breakthroughs come alive. So here's a short video about She Leads India and its passionate founder who, along with her team, elevates women entrepreneurs to grow their businesses. Nikita Vora. Here's the video.
Meet Priya. She's a baker based in Pune. She has been doing this business since past 4 years, but still struggled to go beyond the first year. Is it because she lacked ability or she's not ambitious enough? No. She has tried everything. She's also consistent on Instagram. She has done paid marketing, tried Google review, but none of them seems to work for it. Is it because of her skill? Probably not. In India, we have 14 million women entrepreneurs. In fact, in Pune itself, we have 3 lakh women entrepreneurs. Every woman can resonate with this story. Hi, I am Nikita Vora, a digital marketing consultant and a trainer. Been in this field for more than 15 years now. I am founder of She Leads India. I have done my graduation from Christ University, FHS, German University, and also I am an alum of IIM Ahmedabad. At She Leads India, we are trying to create a platform for women entrepreneurs to get an access to this marketing knowledge base, where every week we have trainings where women can come online or offline to learn this marketing tools. We do group trainings, we have one-on-one consultation call, we identify marketing software which they can implement or adopt to scale their business. Our end goal is to help women entrepreneurs understand marketing, implement those marketing strategies, and scale up their business. We are also featured and appreciated by various media houses. We had 2 flagship events in 2023 and 2024 where we also saw 200 plus women entrepreneurs coming in together to listen to our national trainers. We are the bridge to connect trainers, industry experts, and marketing tools with this women entrepreneur. We have a community which is close to 40,000 women entrepreneurs based in Pune. We created this platform understanding the logic that today also women associate their self-worth to their financial freedom. And unless they scale up their business, they are not going to achieve this financial freedom which they have dreamt of. We also want them to go one step beyond and create more opportunities for more women. If you are a women entrepreneur, please do join this community by clicking on the link below. Thank you.
Some amazing work going on here. So I'm your host, Dipti, and today I am joined by a woman who is shaping how the top leaders of the world communicate. Welcome, Sandhyaa. Sandhyaa S. Pillai. She's an executive coach to CXOs and global leaders, and she's known for helping them own the room, master high-stakes conversations, and lead with power presence. Her work is bold, strategic, and deeply human, and today she's here to share it with us. So let's dive in. Welcome, Sandhyaa.
Thank you, Dipti. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's lovely to have you here too. Okay, so let's start with the landscape. Digital marketing is opening up new avenues for women entrepreneurs. So where do you see communication fitting into the mix? Beyond just content and campaigns.
That's an interesting one. Actually, most of the times people would ask me the other way around. How do you actually kind of integrate communication into the new content that we are talking about? But this is an interesting one. So if not content and campaigns, how does communication play a role in the digital media? Most important, our voice. It could definitely not mean that when you're verbalizing something, your voice which is your authentic inner self, if that is resonating with the content and the content that you're putting out resonates with your true personality, I think that's pretty much communicating to the audience in a very, very layered manner, but you are still connecting with the audience. So I guess today trust and authenticity is key, and it helps if they are able to connect. Any entrepreneur, when they are able to connect with trust and authenticity, the content, campaigns, design, bold colors really doesn't matter, right? It just connects with the audience.
Super. Yes, we'll be going into authenticity a little bit more in depth a bit later on. Very nice. So, I mean, you specialize in coaching CXOs through high stakes scenarios, right?
Yeah.
So, what does high stakes look like for a woman solopreneur or a first time founder? And how do you think she can prepare to show up strong?
I don't think till the time we are patriarchal and in a society which is patriarchal, we actually ever master it. But just kidding. I think we are paving a path, and we are on the path where women are seen, we are heard, we are valued, we are respected. So considering that's going to be there in the next 10 years and improvising, I definitely feel that, in this world, we are going to be in high stakes situations. We always have been. One important thing that I often notice for solopreneurs or women who are starting is a pitch deck, which we kind of really do not prepare ourselves for, because we're so used to just introducing ourselves in a network meeting by shaking hands and exchanging cards. We really do not consciously work on the pitch deck. And I think that really takes away a huge chunk of opportunities or golden opportunities that could open path for you. And because we're not prepared. So this is one thing that I've noticed, that pitch decks are not prepared. And even if it is, it falls flat because it wasn't well prepared or researched, or not really catering to the audience that we were in, right? So that's one. The second is the resilience. I know we are trained as multitaskers, but sometimes the resilience to be able to enter a room full of 50 men and still stand strong, stand tall, and put your point forward. I think those are conversations we are not used to and we are not prepared for. If we are well advanced, in preparation, it's good that, when we walk into a room like that, we are able to present ourselves better and more confidently. So I feel when we are not prepared in situations like that, it gets tough. So for me, two situations that I notice often is, one, we're not prepared to walk into a room like that. It could be a board meeting, it could be even a client interaction, it could be our pitch, investor meet, it could be a network. We're not prepared. The second is we sometimes underplay. We do not put our cards all out when we are presenting, and that's which is mostly when we walk into a network meeting. We've understood that this could be my probable client, but what we instead do of talk, instead of actually exchanging some details there, we take the card and we say, I'll call back. Right, and I feel we've lost that opportunity of that high stakes right there, because this is a probable hot customer, but you didn't really know the networking methods, or you didn't really know the strategies. So three things that I notice is, yeah, high pitch in the high stake is, one, pitch deck falling flat. Second, walking into a room unprepared, because most of the times we have not really a great representation of the board, or the client or the investor summits. And third is that we walk in and we are not really prepared for a network meeting. We do not expect a hot customer there, and we end up exchanging cards and coming back.
That's beautifully said. I totally identify with that. And it's just that feeling or that matter of following through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're doing the pitch deck, okay, you start off, but can you keep that person's attention
Yeah.
and make them really excited, just like you are? As you say, exchanging business card. Can you follow through on a conversation that lands a deal?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all very, very important. Nice. And that leads me to the next question, actually. So many people do hesitate to be visible, okay? And now we're talking about being visible on platforms like LinkedIn or speaking on panels.
Yeah.
So how do you coach someone past those visibility blocks so that their message actually lands, like whether it's online or offline, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, there are two things to it, Deepti. I, as a coach, and you would resonate with what I'm just going to share. As a coach, we really do not push boundaries for our coachee, right? Whoever is on the other side, be it women, man, or anybody. So if I understand that the boundary that they set up is for a reason which could be as deep as having public anxiety, or as deep as having traumatic relation to public speaking, I would not really push the boundaries there, right? And though I know that those are visibility blocks, but I would give them some time to share with me what is it that makes them so fearful about that stage. Because I also work with aspiring coaches, and as a mentor, what I've seen with a lot of coaches, and specifically women, is in spite of spending a long amount of time, in fact extended duration with the corporate, they still are not comfortable coming on videos on LinkedIn, not because they're not used to it, not because they're not comfortable, but there is something that is related to their public speaking which they have got as a feedback while they were working, and that makes them fearful of an audience, of rejection, of being judged, or somebody having an opinion about them. And with women, thanks to the cosmetic industry and the influencing industry, we are told we are supposed to look a certain way. We are told we are supposed to have a particular background. We are told we need to have a particular skin tone. And that for women takes a big toll when it comes to, public speaking. So I'm not saying only an audience of 150 people, but it could be even you and me talking, right? And I
Yes.
say, hey Deepti, I think I'm not as good looking as you, and I want to step back, which is very natural for women to go through. So if those are some of the conversations I'm having with them, I wouldn't push the boundaries as much. I would give them time to first accept who they are, which is self-awareness as per the EQ. So I would give them the time to, sink in with who they are, and do they like themselves. If not, if they love their voice, I would make that voice their power, right? So a lot of times in the mentoring sessions, I've told people, use your voice and have faceless videos, because you're still out there. The idea is that you share the knowledge, right? You use your voice and have faceless videos, it's fine. Or you
Yes.
want to use your audio, and thanks to a lot of these AI tools today, we have automated videos. You just need to integrate your voice there. That can be done. So you're not stepping away from knowledge sharing, you're not stepping away from contributing to the world, but we're not pushing you also to say, hey, you're not comfortable yet with yourself, but you still have to do it. I would say the visibility block for me is if you are not expressing yourself and you do not want to put yourself out to help people. That's a block I would want to address as a coach, and figure out, hey, what is it that makes you not share the information or share your expertise? What is it that I can do so that you are out in the world, you're present, and people gain a lot from you? So, two things that I mostly work is, one, figure out where the boundary is coming from, why are they pushing it? The second is if they're pushing away, and the second is to figure out if they also have self-confidence issues, self-belief, self-worth issues, and that's something that I would kind of marry together and see if I can make them take small steps, but celebrate their moments every time they have the courage to take the small steps.
Nice, nice. I'm going to be very honest and vulnerable right now. I totally, totally resonate with this because I don't know whether you would believe, but I am a total introvert. So it's taken me many years to be able to get on a podcast like this, and it's thanks to Nikita that. And other people as well, my very good friends and family who have been telling me for so long. Now finally I'm trying. So that really resonates with me. It takes time.
Yeah,
So
it does. It
it's
does.
not
And congratulations on your courage. And I think that's a live example right out there for everyone.
yes,
There is always a beginning and there's always a light there.
yes. Lovely. So you often speak about stakeholder alignment.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about early stage entrepreneurs, I mean, the stakeholders could be anyone, right? Founders, co-founders, clients, even family.
Yeah.
So how can women navigate conflicting expectations and still lead with that clarity? What do you
Tough
think?
one, tough one, Deepti. When it comes to, the internal stakeholders that we have, and most of the times, internal stakeholders are our family. It could be a partner, it could be anybody else in the family. So that is a difficult negotiation. But I feel if women are able to assert well, which I keep talking about, and I keep saying that assertion doesn't mean you come across as aggressive. And I guess a lot of women still believe, in fact, I wouldn't say believe, they are almost living this mindset that if I speak up, I will be judged as somebody who's too strong. I really do
Hmm.
not know what too strong or less strong is. I feel assertion is you putting your need out there. Having said that, I'm not taking away what the other person needs as well. Right. So I'm willing to have conversation where assertion is important. So when I say stakeholder, alignment, even with the CEOs, what I expect and what we work together is to see how they can keep their needs at the forefront, but while they're doing that, they're not hurting someone in the process, and they are making the conversation inclusive enough for the other person to feel that, hey, I think at this junction Mr. X is choosing himself, but he doesn't disrespect me. He is still including me in the conversation. Or it could be any women entrepreneur, and we could have that conversation as well. So sometimes in a conversation, like, we're deciding on a product or a color or a brand, or these are a lot of stakeholders involved. In fact, sometimes family is involved in deciding your brand logo. Now, for sure that for the last 10 years you've dreamt of a brand logo for yourself. You've dreamt of a color, and it could be your sibling, it could be your children sometimes coming and saying, hey mama, I don't think that resonates with you. It is too boring, and they have a lot of, it's not cool. And but in the heart that that's something that resonates with you, and you've been waiting for that logo to be out. So how do you convince your family there? And that alignment is important, because you do want your family to be inclusive in your brand building and your legacy, but at the same time, that this is who you are. So I would say that, hey, you know what, I loved what you said, and I love the colors that you're asking me to put. But for this time, maybe for a year, let me try this brand logo, because I've been waiting for it all my life, and I'd love to hear your opinion on what brand logos that you have in mind. Let's look at it next year as well, when we have the trademark. So there you are, you're including your family, but you're not just taking away their power of making a decision for you, because they love you equally.
Yes, absolutely, and you'll agree that there's a huge difference between being passive and aggressive,
Yeah.
and that assertiveness is such a different thing that most people can't even identify how to be assertive.
Yeah.
And they get it, and once it's been done,
Yeah.
then it's like a whole new world opens up. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and
Yes.
it takes a toll on them. I've heard a lot of women come back and tell me that, I literally had jitters, Sandhya, before I put my point out. I didn't
Yes.
sleep for 2 nights before I practiced what you asked me to say at the dinner table. And I can resonate with that, because I guess my journey started pretty much because of not being assertive, though I have always been labeled as somebody who's very aggressive. So I guess people who met me always were confused with straightforwardness versus aggressive, because I was very straightforward and very clear, without any agenda, saying, hey, Deepti, this is what I like about you and I don't like about you. People thought I was aggressive. But over a period of time, I learned that what I'm doing is actually asserting myself, but the world and the society doesn't see me like that. And that's why I was constantly shunned as saying, being labeled as an aggressive child. It now if you ask me, if I go back, I know, oh, okay, so 40 years back I was not really an aggressive child. I was very straightforward. I didn't know how to mince word. I wasn't diplomatic enough to please everyone, right? But labeled as somebody who's an aggressive person.
Yeah, because an aggressive person is someone who thinks that the other person is always wrong, right?
Mm,
And you don't, as you're growing up, you don't want to hurt anybody or label them
yeah.
as wrong, right? So, but then getting your point across and being straightforward can be taken in a different way than intended.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Very nice. So you have a 3A strategy, right?
Yeah.
Um, it sounds very powerful. I don't know if you want to give away the formula, but can you share how this framework of yours helps leaders move from competent to really compelling communicators?
I really love that narrative. So competent to compelling is very interesting, and that's pretty much what we do in the 3A philosophy. So let me see if I can, without revealing the signature program, which is kind of out there on LinkedIn as well. But I'll try to rephrase it in a way where the 3A is really not revealed. Now, three things that I normally look at, and while even I'm coaching aspiring coaches or mentoring them, I give them the three types of looking at people when they're narrating their problem. Three ways that people get impacted in their lives is: one, most important, they would normally observe a block in themselves. The second is they would observe a block in others, and the third could be that environment is creating a block for them, or and that's why they do not present themselves the way they want, right? We were talking about patriarchy. So sometimes the conditioning is so strong in the external environment that even if I do want to, but when I actually come in front of people, because my conditioning has been such, or my mindset has been such, or my belief system is screwed up, I end up saying what the society expects me to say. So that could be an external environment. So, coming back to the three parts. So what we focus in the coaching program is to see how we can work on that self. And the self is so confident about themselves that they don't need a validation from an audience or a sibling or a person sitting on the other side. They know what they're good at. That's the first part. So where they kind of build their power presence without the 3A also. The second is, how do you work on the block that is you feel created by others, and are most of the times right, because sometimes it's trauma bonding or a narcissist relationship that you've been in a red flag relationship for the longest time because you don't have the courage to walk out, or you feel maybe someday the person will change, and that's a red flag, but you're still in that relationship. So it's if those are some of the external blocks that a person is in. And in the corporate, we do not leave an organization in spite of having a toxic boss because we are so fearful of not finding a job again. So it comes from the self and also the others. So we work on the others part of it. How do you put yourself out there to the people? How do you let them know that you have these qualities is the second part. How do you project yourself, because what you talk to yourself is what you're projecting to the others. So that's the second part. And the third part, because yourself and the dealing with others is taken care of, you really do not care about the environment. Even if the environment is there, you have created your own power presence, you have created your credibility amongst people. All that you have to do with an external environment is be visible now. When all of these three fall in place or in alignment, we automatically feel valued and we are respected in that domain.
Wow. Okay. That's mind-boggling stuff. I'd love to hear more about that later.
Absolutely.
Yes. It sounds very how do you say, deep and very powerful, like a changing type of internal changes
Yeah,
that
yeah,
happen during this process.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, nice. So my next question is about AI. So in today's AI and automation heavy world, we're told that authenticity matters. We talked a little bit about authenticity before. So we're told that it really matters. But that's really vague. So how do you help leaders express authority without losing their authenticity?
That's a very interesting question. In fact, we do a lot of workshops around, influencing without authority. So if you don't have the power of the position, how do you still influence others, right? And that's one part of it. But I know you're talking about the AI world. What we work with the CEOs, of course, we haven't reached the stage where we really pitch on the AI tools, but I do use a lot of AI tools for them to be able to practice their speeches. Now, while they're doing that, while they're researching, one thing which, because you've just heard the 3A model, the idea is always to keep the self intact. Now, in the self, we do not allow any kind of fake environment for them to be part of, except the fact that they are researching or rehearsing or practicing their speeches or whatever they need to speak. So we ensure that their human connection is built, and they're constantly in touch with the human connection, with humans around, because that will actually be a testing ground to see live reactions from other people. Most of the tools would give you a summary of how it is, but right there in my on my table is maybe a team member who I just gave a feedback, and I can see live the non-verbal cues the team member is throwing to me, and that's itself a communication for me. So if I'm not true and I'm using maybe any tool, I would sometimes say don't even use an email when you want to give feedback, right? When it's high emotion state, either a good news or a very bad news, do not use email as a communication medium. Walk up to the person and give that bad news or good news, because you want to see that human reaction, you want to feel that and be part of it. Or second is you call them up, you do a virtual call. But whenever it's high emotions, the best method of communication is to talk to the person live and have an interaction there. So which is something we consciously inculcate in the coaching environment, because people who are working with global stakeholders could sometimes feel disconnected in the virtual world, and because they're not interacting with people on videos most of the times, and it's just audio. And that's why we encourage them to have human connections, go to book clubs, do things that they love, engage with nature a lot more, interact with people outside their work area, which could be networking outside their area of work or domain. And that is consciously something that I do, so that they have that human touch, their authenticity remains intact, and they're able to test and try their speeches and the conversation to see how it is working for the other person.
Yes, I agree that human touch is all too important going forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And talking about going forward, this is a big one actually. India is fast becoming a hub for GCCs, the Global Capability Centers.
Yes.
And as more companies, global companies, set up leadership bases here, what communication or leadership skills will be non-negotiable if we're talking about like women and aiming to take charge in strategic roles, for example?
Yeah, yeah. Very good question, Deepti. I think it's a very powerful one, because the way GCC is kind of, up. It's basically one of the topmost that we see right now. That global capability centers are mushrooming in our country, and the representation is also very interesting. What we see is women representation is very high compared to what we had seen earlier in the corporate world. So that's good news. I'm still waiting for the numbers to actually see, but then we still have capability centers coming up. Pune also is going to be one of it, one of that hubs. So one topmost thing that I noticed is, because it is global capability centers, the expectation is that we do have the nuances, at least we understand the nuances of a cross-cultural communication. We understand how culturally people are different, because that's where we are when we set up a GCC. The idea is that we are able to understand global capacity centers. We have skilled people joining in. They should also, so we should be equipped enough as women leaders to pass it on to our team, saying, these are the nuances of the global communication that you should be aware of. That's important. The second, what I observe, is adaptability, because though we are looking at GCCs coming in, there is no formal structure, and a lot of it is SOP driven right now. And I think with so much coming in, there is going to be a lot of change. So if adaptability is not there with the leaders, it's going to be very difficult. One, because of AI, it's a very dynamic environment. Second, because we are looking at global capability centers, which means every time there is a change in the global economy, there are going to be changes within this domain as well. And that means that we need to be more adaptable to what is, upcoming in the GCC domain. That's the second thing that I look at. And third, I think, we spoke about stakeholder alignment. Because we are going to be working with global stakeholders, that alignment, understanding them, engaging with them is very critical. These are top three that I kind of foresee is going to be the topmost.
Yes, yes, I agree. Um, and also, like, just to put another twist on that,
Yeah,
and this is because I've been through this. This is my as a the other way around is also very important.
yeah,
So we do focus on the Indian teams, whether it's women or men or whoever,
yeah,
to get globally aligned and best practices and how to do business with global companies coming in.
yeah,
But it's also extremely important for the companies coming in to undergo the same
yeah.
coaching, for example, because
Absolutely.
to understand how we do business in India is, I mean, they are two extremes, and
Yeah,
nothing is right and nothing is wrong. They're
yeah,
just different.
yeah,
And I think there's a lot of attention on coaching in India,
yeah.
but the other side needs coaching too. So because I've done it, I've moved from UK to Pune, so I've seen it the other way around, and it's very
No,
interesting.
actually, yeah, it makes sense. And look at some of the global brands. How have they tweaked their products? If you look at McDonald's, McDonald's US versus what is in India, they've kind of customized themselves to the Indian audience. So when we're
Mm,
looking at global capability centers, Pizza Hut has done that. We have a lot of such companies. Starbucks came into masala tea. So you can of course today it is Tata owned, but even before they did have that thing that was added to their menu. So
yes,
global
yes, to their
brands are
product.
yeah,
Yes.
global brands are also customizing, and we've heard all the Kolhapuri chappal controversy that's happening around. We've heard it in the last 1 week. So yes, they have kind of also understood that they need to understand, because culturally we are very different, and if people are not aligning culturally today, the kind of workforce we have, they do voice it out. You and I, working in the corporate. So I work with Amex. I don't think I had the courage to tell my clients that, hey, I think this is not the right time for us to step out, maybe it's not safe enough. We just went with what the clients always wanted. But the millennial and the Gen Z for workforce today are not like that. They're kind of outspoken, and they're out there verbally saying this is not acceptable and this is how it is. So I would love to see what you said, that cross culturally making them aware of our cultures and tradition as well, because that makes
Yes.
it a perfect business, maybe
Partnership.
collaboration.
Yes.
Yeah, a
Yes.
partnership.
Collaboration. Yeah. Absolutely. The communication styles, leadership styles, everything is like
Yeah,
so important to understand and bridge the gaps.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at our final question. And at She Leads India, we often say your voice is your leadership. Okay. So, what's one belief or mindset that you wish, a mindset shift, or should I say, that you wish every woman would embrace when it comes to her voice? We talked about her voice right at the beginning, so let's elaborate on that part.
That's I think the last question, but one of the most powerful reflective questions that you can ask. And I feel women, most of us, and we've discussed this earlier as well,
Yeah.
we've been told our voice is not important. Our voice is not relevant sometimes, not valued, and we've heard that often. uh, Today I want each woman to know that your voice is valued. Whatever you have in terms of your experience, even if it is coming from a space of you being a homemaker, coming from a space that you've been in the corporate world, or you come from an entrepreneur world, doesn't matter. Even if you're working with someone, your voice matters. And that's something, that's a belief system we need to really walk with, and be very true to the fact that when you're putting yourself out there, the idea of putting your voice is never to hurt anyone. And that's a myth I want to break for a lot of people. I hear in networks that they think they are presenting their voice, because voice is the power and that's what leadership is. But sometimes that voice is a noise. And we as women need to kind of understand that difference, that when is my voice going to be a noise, but having said that, I don't need to shut down my voice. So and that, I think, is a conscious effort that we need to understand, that sometimes we could get too noisy and bragging about so many things, but personal branding is equally important. So just create that balance. While you want to put your voice out there, it is important for you to put your voice out there. Get feedback from as many people as to, I said this and how did it feel for you. Nothing wrong in
Yeah.
getting a feedback, right? So
Yeah.
get that. Hey, you know what, I was standing in the network meeting and I spoke for 15 minutes. I don't know what I was thinking, I just took up so much of time. What did you think? Get that feedback, because it will help you differentiate between a voice and a noise. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Yeah, fine line between voice and noise. When
Yeah.
you understand where the line is, it's a really beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
Awesome, Sandhya. Thank you so much for
Thank
your sharp insights and lots of clarity. It's been really, eye-opening having a chit chat with you.
Thank you, Deepti. Lovely having you, and amazing questions. I really enjoyed, answering all of those questions.
Thank you. And I think you've reminded us that communication isn't soft. It's an actual serious leadership skill.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I
thank you
always tell
again.
people it's a conscious skill that you build. It's not
Yes.
something that happens just like that. It is a conscious skill that we work on.
Yes, yes, a conscious skill, and it takes time. But when you do it, it's amazing. People say, "Why didn't I learn all this when I was earlier?" Right? When I was younger. Sorry.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Thank you,
Great.
Sandhya, again.